Hello students, welcome back to the economics class of plus 1 standard. As we were working with lesson number 8, structural changes in the Indian economy since 1991. Previously we have done the topic economic reforms in the new economic policy. Today we will discuss about the evaluation of LPG policies. LPG means liberalization, privatization and globalization policies and its positive impacts and negative impacts. Privatization means when the government sells the stakes to the private sector. Stake means shares. Government to sell stake in 28 major public sector undertakings and their subsidiaries. Some of the government projects are now in private hands like E-Highway route till Chandigarh, Project and Development India Limited, Hindustan Prefab Limited, Hospital Services Consultancy Limited, National Project Construction Corporation, Engineering Project India Limited, Pawan Hans Limited, Hindustan Newsprint Limited. So, the transfer of ownership, property or business from the government to the private sector is termed as privatization. The government ceases to be the owner of the entity or business. In privatization, the government role is reduced. It does not disappear. Privatization means the least interference of the government. The Atal Bihari Vajpayee government started the first and the only privatization process of India so far. They privatized many firms between 1999 till 2003. India went for privatization in the historic reforms, budget of 1991. Also known as New Economic Policy or LPG policy. LPG policy means liberalization, privatization and globalization policy. Let us discuss some important key terms related to the topic. First one is privatization, then fiscal measures, revenue deficit, globalization and foreign investment. Privatization, the transfer of ownership, property or business from the government to the private sector, it is termed as privatization. The government ceases to be the owner of the entity or business. In privatization, the government role is reduced. It does not disappear. Privatization means least interference of the government. Still, there are some industries which are not reserved for the private sector: cigarette, Indian Railway, atomic energy. The main disadvantage of the privatization it is that it aims at making profit which adversely affect the interest of the community. Private sector exploit the resources like labor by giving them lesser wages according to their services. Fiscal measures. Fiscal measures to control inflation. Inflation means when there is rise in the prices due to more circulation of the money supply in the economy and lesser production of goods and services. In that case, the prices of goods and services becomes higher and it creates inflation. So, the fiscal measures to control inflation relates to the government policy with respect to its receipts and expenditure. Receipts means receipt in the form of taxes or interest on loans, and expenditure, government expenditures like building up of roads, railways, subsidies. The following are some of the important anti-inflationary fiscal measures like reduction in the volume of public expenditure, like reduction in the subsidies that is given to the public or the industries on the purchase of the raw material, public expenditure on the building up of roads, railways, dams. Next one is rise in the levels of taxes, introduction of new taxes and bringing more people under the coverage of taxes. There are two types of taxes: direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax like income tax and wealth tax. Even corporate tax also known as direct tax. Indirect tax like custom duty, excise duty, or you can say that GST, that is goods and service tax. Revenue deficit. Revenue deficit means when investment expenditure it is more, but the revenue from the output it is lesser. That is known as revenue deficit. Suppose a company has invested rupees 10,000 and the output it is only worth rupees 8,000. So 2,000 it is the revenue deficit. So revenue deficit is concerned with the revenue expenditures and receipts of the government. It refers to the excess of revenue expenditure over revenue receipts during the given fiscal year. Revenue deficit, that is equals to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. It signifies that government's own revenue is insufficient to meet the expenditures on normal functioning of government departments like railways, irrigation department, income tax department, and the provision for the various services like chartered accountant services, any kind of principalship it is there, and surgeons are there. These are the various services. Globalization. The most common example of globalization is Nutella, which gets its ingredients from several different countries combined into one delicious product. We also have other things like computers, smartphone, TVs, cars, etc. Globalization means the speed up of movements and exchanges of human beings, goods and services, capital, technologies or cultural practices all over the planet. That is known as globalization. Foreign investment. Foreign investment means when money will flow from one country to another country, then it is called foreign investment. Like American company, he has invested his capital in the Indian company, like Walmart it is there, and other companies are also there, like Moody's are there, they are also investing in Indian companies, India. So foreign investment means when a company or individual from one nation invest in the assets or ownership stakes means shares of a company based in the another nation. As increased globalization is, business has occurred. It's become very common for big companies to branch out and invest money in companies located in other countries. Next one is examples of foreign direct investment includes Walmart, Moody, mergers, acquisitions, retail, services, logistics and manufacturing among others. Foreign direct investments and the laws governing them can be pivotal to a company's growth strategy. So foreign direct investment is an investment made by a company or individual in one country in business interest in another country in the form of either establishing business operations or acquiring business assets in other country, such as ownership or controlling interest in a foreign company. Mergers, like right now you have seen that merger of Idea and Vodafone is there. Objectives of privatization. Ideological objectives. Its main objective is to strengthen the capitalism, means least role of the government, least interference of the government. Economic objective means enhancing the efficiency through competition. Like when privatization it is there in the industries, every private person in order to increase its profit will focus on the quality and quantity of the product, and in this way competition will prevail in the economy. Fiscal objectives means to curtail the revenue deficit through various fiscal measures in the economy. Various fiscal measures means imposition of more taxes in the economy. Next one is administrative objectives for reducing costs, like ensuring free flow of communication and efficient use of resources throughout the organization. Fiscal measures. Fiscal measures to control inflation relates to the government policy with respect to its receipts and expenditures, like anti-inflationary fiscal measures, reduction in the volume of public expenditure, expenditure on subsidies, expenditure on building up of roads, railways, expenditure in the health department, expenditure in the education department. So all these kind of expenditures are cut off. Rise in the levels of taxes, introduction of new taxes, and bringing more people under the coverage of taxes. Need for privatization. Following are the arguments that can be given in the favor of privatization in India, that is rising budgetary deficit. A budgetary deficit occurs when spendings it is greater than the revenue received in a given year. Like if a country had rupees 10 billion worth of revenue in a year and its expenditure it is rupees 12 billion for the same year, then the country would be running a deficit of rupees 2 billion. The budgetary deficit in India are increasing considerably, which further contribute to rising prices. So to reduce budgetary deficit, the scope of public sector should be contracted and that of private sector be expanded. Poor performance of public enterprises. In view of poor performance of public sector undertakings, means underutilization of resources and ratio of capital and labor is not proper, means to say that under the government departments on the machines, the ratio of machine and labor it is not accurate. Machines are less and the labor employed on that it is more. That is the labor capital ratio. It is not in correct order. Overstuffing it is there. That's why the work it is not up to the mark. Underutilization of resources it is there. So public sector has become an economic burden on the national economy. High capital ratio. The capital output ratio in the economy has been increasing, particularly for the public sector. High capital output ratio in the public sector demand privatization. In short, private enterprises are motivated by profits. They take right economic decisions. This will avoid the wastage of economic resources. Hence, the economy is expected to show greater efficiency and productivity under privatization. Like private person in the industry or the entrepreneur in the industry will always take right decision, like one machine, how many laborers are required. Accordingly, he will decide, and he will also decide the hours of working properly and how to utilize the time properly so that the production can be increased, and from the wastage also he will try to make the byproducts. Like in a cotton industry, after making clothes, in a textile industry, after making clothes, from the pieces left over afterwards, he will make the patches or any bindi work it is there. So in this way they can use the wastage also in the form of byproducts, and from there also they can earn the profit, and in this way they generate the employment also. So capital output ratio is the amount of capital needed to produce 1 unit of output. For example, suppose that investment in an economy, investment is 32% of GDP and the economic growth corresponding to this level of investment is 8%. Here rupees 32 investment produces an output of rupees 8. Policy measures. Due to high cost structure, public sector enterprises were not generating surplus. Government adopted the following measures towards privatization. First one is construction of public sector. The number of industries reserved for public sector has been reduced from 17 to 8 and now only 2 industries, namely atomic energy, atomic industry and rail transport are reserved for public sector. Hence, even core industries like iron and steel, electricity, air transport, shipbuilding, heavy machines and strategic industries like defense production have been opened for the private sector. Policy of disinvestment. Disinvestment policy means when government selling off a part of the shares of public sector undertakings into the hands of private sector, that is known as disinvestment. So selling off part of the equity or the shares of public sector undertakings is called investment. According to the government, the purpose of disinvestment of shares of public sector undertakings was to raise resources for the budget to reduce fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit arise when the revenue expenditure it is more than the revenue receipts, and to provide funds for the modernization of public sector undertakings. Public sector undertakings like railways, transport it is there, street lights are there, public libraries are there, government school, government hospitals are there. So all these are the public sector undertakings. The process of disinvestment was started in 1991 till 1992. The government has adopted 2 methods of disinvestments. First one is selling of shares in selected public sector undertakings, and second one is strategic sale of public sector undertakings. Under the former method, which was used over the period of 1991 till 1992 to 1998 till 1999, a part of government equity, that is sale of minority shares in small lots, was sold to the general public, financial institutions and mutual funds and the workers of the company. Under the later method, which was used since 1999 till 2000, the government started selling major part of its stakes or shares to private sector companies. It resorted to strategic scale of a number of companies like Modern Foods India, Bharat Aluminium Company, that is BALCO, Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited VSNL, Maruti Udyog Limited MUL, etc. are the examples of strategic sale. A sum of rupees 1,52,780 crore has been realized from the disinvestment during the period from 1991 till 92 to March 2014. Policy of Navratnas. In 1997, the government identified 11 high performing and profit making public sector undertakings which were nicknamed as Navratnas. These public sector undertakings were to be provided financial and managerial autonomy to become global giants. As per the status of March 31, 2013, there were 14 Navratna companies in India. These undertakings are Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited BPCL, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited HPCL, Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited MTNL, Bharat Electronics Limited BEL, Hindustan Aeronautic Limited HAL, National Mineral Development Corporation NMDC, Power Finance Corporation PFC, Power Grid Corporation, Rural Electrification Corporation, National Aluminium Company Limited NALCO, Shipping Corporation of India, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, Oil India Limited, Neyveli Corporation Limited. So these are the Navratnas. There are 7 Maharatnas companies which include Oil and Natural Gas Commission ONGC, Thermal National Power Corporation NTPC, Steel Authority of India SAIL, Indian Oil Corporation IOCL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited BHEL, Gas Authority of India Limited GAIL, Coal India Limited CIL. The government has also granted financial and operational autonomy to some other profit-making public sector undertakings. These are categorized as mini Ratnas. Presently, there are 68 public sector undertakings were given the status of mini Ratnas. Problems or the disadvantages in privatization. Ownership to a privileged few. Laborers would be at the mercy of the private owners. Cost and ignorance factors. Lack of social responsibility. Takeover threat. Loss of experienced managerial expertise. Short-term gain, long-term loss. Ignores the national importance. So these are the problems with the privatization. As the private person is not responsible socially because its main motive is to earn the profit by exploiting the resources. It always ready to take the risks. And in short term, they want to increase their profits. And they also ignore the national importance also. Privatization encourages monopoly, means single sellership, power in the hands of big business houses, and thus greater disparities in income and wealth. Privatization may result in lopsided development. Lopsided development means uneven development of industries in the country. Only those industries are focused from where the private person can earn the maximum profit. The limited resources of the private individuals cannot meet some of the vital tasks which alter the very character of the economy. The private sector may not uphold the principles of social justice and public welfare. Their only profit making is their focus, is their goal. Meaning of globalization. The most common example of globalization is Nutella, which gets its ingredients from several different countries combined into one delicious product. We also have other things, computers, smartphone, TVs and cars, etc. So globalization means the speed up of movements and exchanges of human beings, goods and services, capital, technologies or cultural practices all over the planet. One of the effects of the globalization is that it promotes and increases interactions between different regions and populations around the globe. The policy of globalization encourages both foreign trade and foreign investment. Elimination of state enforced restrictions on exchanges across borders and the increasingly integrated global system of production and exchange which emerged as a result of such a process. Need for globalization. First one is removal of inefficiency. With the globalization, inefficiency removes among the firms. which becomes careless in the absence of globalization. When globalization it is there, foreign companies are also set up in your own country, and which creates competition, and in order to be a part of the competition, the existing domestic companies or the industries will also work attentively and utilize the resources up to the mark. Increase in productivity. Globalization of underdeveloped countries will improve the allocative efficiency of resources, reduce the capital output ratio, and increase the labor productivity. In this way, they can compete with the foreign companies and can increase their output also, and in this way they can increase their profit also. It increases the inflow of capital and updated technology into the country. Increase productivity at work and make time go by faster. Need for globalization. It reduces relative prices of manufactured goods like cars, computers, TV, cell phones, etc. Competition. Globalization encourages foreign competition among the firms to earn more profit and improvement of quality. As every private person or the government wants to increase their profit and want to be the winner in the society by giving the quality product, branded products. So in this way, globalization encourages the foreign competition among the firms to earn more profit and improvement of quality. Improvement in banking and financial sector. The efficiency of banking and financial sector will improve with the opening of these sectors to foreign banks. Essential conditions for globalization. First one is business freedom. Business freedom means lesser paperwork if we want to set up our business in some other nations. Competitive environment should be there. Every person, those who want to exist in the competition, have to work attentively and utilization of the resources properly. Comparative advantage. Government support in the form of subsidies and financial orientation of business firms, it is there. Favorable impacts of globalization. Promotion of foreign direct investment FDI by giving them subsidies and liberalization in order to set up their business in your own nation. Greater access to improved knowledge and technology. Advantages of international division of labor. Greater export opportunities before the developing nations like India and Peru. Greater flow of goods and services between nations. Enhancement of consumers' choice. In front of the consumer there are number of things from which they can choose the best one according to their need. Greater scope of innovation in a competitive environment. Everybody want to share the big ideas or great ideas. New inventions are there. Efficient utilization of resources, like the ratio of capital and output, it will be reduced in order to increase the output. Interlinkage of production in distant location. Reduction in price fluctuation. Favorable impacts of globalization. Increase in foreign trade. Technological development. Brand development. Branded means quality, it is there in the products, in the output, so that their product can be sold at cheaper rates also and can be in high demand. Development of capital market. Expansion of market. development of service sector, reduction in brain drain, improvement in standard of living. So capital market here means a place where buyers and sellers can interact and transact financial securities like shares, debentures, debt instruments, bonds, derivative instruments like future, options, swaps, all these are there. So development of capital market, it is there with the globalization. Measures adopted for globalization: increase in foreign investment, partial convertibility of Indian rupee means to buy or sell foreign securities like dollar or pound for foreign transactions at a price determined by the market. This convertibility was valid for the following transactions. First one is import and export of goods and services, payment of interest or dividend on investment, remittances, that is payments to meet family expenses. How tariff work? A 20% tariff of $2 is added to the prices, and the towel made in country B that cost $10, and the towels made in country A cost $12. Now what is here? Country B towels sells for $12 in country A, that is 20% taxes of $2 is added to the price, that is known as tariff. Country A, once again, country A is here, towels made in country A worth $12, or you can say that worth ₹12, and towels made in country B worth ₹10. Now country B towels sells for ₹12 in country A. So ₹2 is added to the price. So actually it is ₹10. So ₹2 extra added in the price of towels. A 20% of tariff, it is there in country A when export by country B to country A. So country A is a importer. So as a importer country, he has to pay 20% tariff on the purchase of clothes. So foreign trade policy, reduction in tariffs, export promotion, freedom to repatriate means they can send back if the product it is not up to the mark. Foreign investment, the government has also liberalized capital flows. Liberalized means tariff free capital flows. It has created opportunities for foreign investment with the view to take advantage of technology transfer and marketing expertise. Important policy measures regarding globalization of the Indian economy are mentioned below. Equity limit of foreign capital investment has been raised from 40% to 51%. In 47 high priority industries, foreign direct investment up to 100% will be allowed without any restriction. Export trading houses will also be allowed foreign capital investment up to 100%. Quantitative restrictions on import of manufactured goods and agricultural commodities were also fully removed from April 2001. Custom duties, that is tariff, have also been reduced to consolidate the competitiveness of Indian goods in the world market. to attract more foreign investment and technology transfer, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, which was tougher act to control the inflow and outflow of foreign exchange, was replaced by Foreign Exchange Management Act with effect from June 2000. Bad impacts of globalization. Quality of employment has degraded. Growth process fails to become inclusive in nature. Uneven competition, unfair trade practices, sending inappropriate technology to developing nations, damage to the environment, like with the globalization there is water pollution, soil pollution, greenhouse effect is there, influence on the government policy, greater volatility, instability in capital market, means prices of shares of one country will affect the prices of shares of the other country. Unfair trade practices are also there, means restrictive trade practices, unnecessarily costlier commodities are there, prices of the commodities are higher, or the entrepreneurs charge higher prices for their production, that is unfair trade practices, in order to increase their profit. Bad impacts of globalization. Demonstration effect, easy availability of products are used by the people, gives rise to the wasteful consumption, loss to the domestic industries, unemployment prevails, birth of inequalities, like with the globalization only higher posts are benefited and the labor class it is exploited. Dominance of foreign institutions are there, and we are also habitual for the products made by the foreign companies, so domestic companies are affected in this way. World Trade Organization. World Trade, that is WTO, came into existence in January 1995 to facilitate multilateral trade arrangements between member countries. Its headquarters it is located at Geneva, that is Switzerland. At the initial stage, there were about 104 member countries of WTO, including India. India became its member on January 1st, 1995. Presently, there are 159 member countries of its organization. All the member countries are required to adopt law and policies of the World Trade Organization. Objectives of World Trade Organization. Expansion of international trade in a liberal environment. Expansion of international trade based on the principle of non-discrimination, means no member country should discriminate between the members of WTO in conduct of international trade. Discrimination means that when we will charge different prices from different customers for the same commodity, that is known as discrimination. Each member country is expected to provide most favored treatment to every other member country in international trade. This is known as most favored nation. Objectives of WTO. Expansion of international trade based on the principle of reciprocity. It means that if a member country gets greater market access to another member country, the former should reciprocate in similar fashion. Greater market access becomes possible through a substantial reduction in tariff rates, means tax rates on imported goods by all member nations. Next one is ensure reforms in agriculture trade, reforms in textile trade, greater access to foreign investors, expansion of international trade, liberalization in the trade of service items. Basic functions of World Trade Organization: to administer the trade arguments between member nations, to facilitate proper implementation of those multilateral trade agreements, to act as a forum for the settlement of trade related disputes between national, to cooperate with international financial institutions such as IMF and World Bank, to facilitate the expansion of trade between member countries through multilateral agreements, to provide technical assistance and training facilities to developing nations. India's commitments to World Trade Organizations: reduction in tariff rates, removal of quantitative restrictions, safeguarding intellectual property rights, trade related investment measures, that is TRIM, General Agreement on Trade in Services, that is GATT. GATT is a General Agreement on Trade in Services, is a treaty of the World Trade Organization that entered into force in 1995 as a result of the Uruguay round negotiation. The treaty was created to extend the multilateral trading system to service sector. All the members of WTO are signatories to the General Agreement on Trade in Services. The basic World Trade Organization principle of most favored nation, that is MFN, applies to the General Agreement on Trade in Services as well. Evaluation of LPG policies means liberalization, privatization and globalization policies. The LPG policies have produced both positive and negative impacts on the Indian economy. Positive impacts, that is outsourcing. Outsourcing means that contracting out some of its activities to a third party, which were earlier performed by the organization. India has become a favorable destination of outsourcing for most of the multinational companies because of low wage rates and availability of skilled manpower. Indian business process outsourcing, that is BPO companies, are already gaining prominence or status and earning precious foreign exchange. Like PepsiCo, it is there, Coca-Cola is there, Microsoft, Google, Nike, Amazon, HCL, all these are the companies. Growth of service sector. During the reform period, service sector recorded high growth rate. The share of services in countries' gross domestic product or GDP has increased very rapidly. It has increased from 42.7% in 1990 till 91 to 59.9% in 2013 till 14. The fast growth of this sector has been mainly on account of the IT sector, that is information technology sector. The post-reform period has opened the banking, insurance, communication and transport sectors to private participation. This has boosted the growth of the service sector. Consumer sovereignty. During the post-reform period, Indian consumers benefited most. They now have a large variety of goods and services sold by multinational companies in India. As a result, the overall expenditure level of Indian households has increased and hence their welfare has risen. Consumer sovereignty, when individuals have the spending power to choose what to buy and influence what is produced, that is known as consumer sovereignty. Increase in foreign direct investment. There has been a large flow of foreign capital in the form of FDI, that is foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment inflow has increased from $100 million in 1990 till 91 to $323.9 billion in March 2014. The entry of multinational companies has promoted competition in the domestic market. Tata Motors, Infosys, Ranbaxy, Asian Paints, Sundaram Fasteners are some Indian companies which have benefited from the increased competition. Similarly, entry of LG, Samsung and Sony etc. in electronics has benefited the Indian consumers the most. Increase in the foreign exchange reserves. In 1990 till 91, the country was faced with a serious foreign exchange crisis. India foreign exchange reserves has declined to $5.8 billion in March 1991. In the post-reform period, foreign exchange reserves have increased fast and countries stand at $304.2 billion in 2013 till 14. The inflow of foreign currency has increased as multinational companies bring foreign capital in foreign currency. Increase in share of private sector. Since 1991, the private sector is playing a dominant role. The share of private sector has increased in all areas like banking and finance, transport and communication, hotel and tourism, electronics, software engineering, agriculture, industry, trade etc. Check on inflation remains constant at about 5% for some time. In 1990 till 91, it was at 12%. Reduction in fiscal deficit. With the reduction in the economic reforms, fiscal deficit has come down. In 1991, fiscal deficit was 8.5% of GDP and now in 2010 till 11 it was of 4.8% only. Fiscal deficit shows the revenues and expenditure of the government. When the revenues are less and expenditures are more, that is known as fiscal deficit. Negative impacts, reforms and agriculture. With the Green Revolution, Indian farmers have now to face increased international competition. Reforms and industry. Due to the policy of dereservation of items along with the qualitative control, our small scale industrial units have to compete with multinational companies. Disinvestment. Under the policy of disinvestment, the assets of public sector undertakings have been undervalued and sold to the private sector. This means that substantial loss to the government again. Proceeds from disinvestment were not used for the development of public sector undertakings and for building social infrastructure in the country. Rather, it was used to meet the deficit in the government revenues. Control over the economy by multinational companies. Now, multinational companies have dominating role in Indian economy. They are successfully exploited the Indian market and are selling their products. They are making huge profits. Indians sometimes spend their money on a variety of global brands in the market. Unbalanced growth process. LPG policies have resulted in the concentration of growth process in urban areas. All multinational companies have established their units in highly developed urban areas where they can get all the facilities of roads and even transportation. As a result, rural-urban gap widening. Poverty is still widespread. With the rate of growth of the economy, the standard of living has improved in urban areas. Poverty is still widespread in the country. Reasons for this were cut in government expenditure on food subsidies and agricultural outputs and more investment in the industrial sector. Growing unemployment. Unemployment opportunities have been created at a upper end like management personals, engineers, other highly skilled personals are there. But the employment opportunities at the lower end, that is for unskilled personals, are missing. The poor unskilled labor force continues to work in low productivity jobs, getting low irregular wages. Hope students you have understood the topic privatization and globalization. Now it's time to note down the homework. Question number 1 is define the following terms with examples: disinvestment, privatization, fiscal measures, revenue deficit, globalization, foreign direct investment. Question number 2 is explain how has the liberalization, privatization and globalization policy changed India's foreign trade. Question number 3 is write a note on foreign investment in India. Question number 4 is explain the positive impacts and negative impacts of LPG policies. And please go through the links also on the YouTube for more clarity, and hope you all will complete your notes in your fair copies for better learning. Thank you for listening.